All right, welcome to the Hot Take Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Cameron Correa, and I am joined today by Bryce Rudolph and Evan DeLacy. So, we're going to start off over here with Bryce, and he's going to give us his top 15 quarterbacks for the upcoming NFL season.
All right, so number 1, I have Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, Carson Wentz. Number 3, Tom Brady. Number 4, Drew Brees. Number 5, Russell Wilson. Number 6, Deshaun Watson. Number 7, Cam Newton. Number 8, Matt Ryan. Number 9, Jimmy Garoppolo. Number 10, Kirk Cousins. Number 11, Matthew Stafford. Number 12, Jared Goff. Number 13, Big Ben. Number 14, Patrick Mahomes. And number 5, Andrew Luck. I'm 15.
Why don't you explain that list a little bit to us?
All right, so I have Aaron Rodgers at 1 because he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Best talent. Carson Wentz, I have number 2. He had a great year last year. Deshaun Watson at 6. I mean, some people say it's kind of high, but
I don't think it's high.
Showed his talent last year. And Jared Goff has some new weapons, so I brought him up to 12.
Jared Goff ahead of Andrew Luck. Well, I'm impressed. All right, so at quarterback, number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Head and shoulders the best quarterback in the league. Number 2, Carson Wentz, doing what he did last year. You have to put him at number 2. Number 3, Russell Wilson. It's just based off talent. He has no weapons with him, but I think he's good enough to get that done. Number 4, Drew Brees, aging, but the Saints have a lot of weapons on offense.
That's right.
5, Deshaun Watson. Risky, but I think the talent is enough. But he is coming off injury, but he does have DeAndre Hopkins. So, number 6, Andrew Luck. That is based on his health, but I think that he's going to be healthy enough this year to return to Andrew Luck form. Number 7, Matt Ryan, and I'll get to that a little bit later in the podcast as to why I have Matt Ryan at number 7. Number 8, Patrick Mahomes. We'll get to that too. Number 9, Tom Brady. He's going to be washed this year. Number 10, Jimmy Garoppolo, up and coming. I think he has a great year this year. Number 11, Big Ben. That's also just based on his offense. Number 12, Phillip Rivers. I think he also has a good team around him, and I think he can get it done. Number 13, Kirk Cousins, first year in Minnesota. But I think Diggs and Thielen will be enough to get him into the top 15. Number 14, Cam Newton. Not much of an offense around him, but the talent is there, so he could be higher. And number 15, Matthew Stafford. Evan, your list.
All right, I'll keep it light with my top 15. No hot takes in here. I'll go number 1, Aaron Rodgers, the unanimous first pick. I'll go number 2, Drew Brees. Drew Brees has a talent, and as long as he's on that team, that offense is moving. Number 3, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson, and he's very good at what he does. Number 4, Carson Wentz. Although the Eagles did win with a backup quarterback, I'll still put Carson Wentz in my top 5 quarterbacks. Now, number 5, Cam Newton.
Wow.
Cam Newton is an MVP. People do forget that, so I will continue to have him in this top 5 quarterback debate. Number 6, Andrew Luck. Like Cam said, when Andrew Luck is healthy, he's good enough. Number 7, this is kind of a hot take, Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has a bunch of weapons around him and a rocket arm, almost as good as Josh Allen, so I'll put him 7th. Number 8, we have Big Ben. I personally think he sucks, but he has great weapons around him, so I'll put him as my 8th best quarterback. Number 9, I have Tom Brady.
Wait, is that Big Ben thing a little bit of Bengals bias, or no?
No, he sucks. We've all seen him play, so but number 9, I'll put Tom Brady. Kills me to say, but Bill Belichick will always put good people around him. Number 10, Andy Dalton. He should be higher on the list because that Bengals offense next year with the addition of Billy Price at center will be ferocious. Number 11, I got Matt Ryan. He's always consistent, pretty good. Number 12, I have Deshaun Watson. It's pretty hard to come off a torn ACL, but the talent is there. I'll give him that. Number 13, I have Kirk Cousins. With a new team, he'll be good, but he has weapons, so he could be higher. 14, Goff. Goff could also be higher. He has a bunch of weapons, but he has Todd Gurley taking up most of the offense. And then 15, Marcus Mariota. Although he is a horrible playoff quarterback, he's actually not bad in the regular season and can get rushing touchdowns.
All right, so we're going to head over to running backs. I'll start us off with running backs. So number 1, Todd Gurley. I think he repeats. Running backs don't repeat his number 1 often, but I think he is good enough to do it. Number 2, Le'Veon. You could argue Le'Veon at number 1. I wouldn't disagree. Number 3, David Johnson. I think he only a hand injury last year. I don't really think it affects him in the long term. I think he'll be fine. Number 4, Zeke. That offensive line is amazing. Zeke is talented. And also, no Dez on the Cowboys. They're going to have to run the ball. Number 5, Alvin Kamara. After what he did last year in that Saints offense, I think you have to put him at 5. Number 6, Leonard Fournette. As long as he can stay on the field for 16 games, I think he could be top 5. Number 7, Melvin Gordon. I think that Chargers offense is great, and they always feed Melvin Gordon around the goal line, so his touchdown numbers should be high. Number 8, Kareem Hunt. That Chiefs offense, I think, is going to be one of the best in the NFL this year. Number 9, Saquon Barkley. Giants took Saquon at 2. I think the talent is definitely there for Saquon. As long as that Giants O-line holds up, I think he's a top 10 running back. Number 10, Mark Ingram. I know Kamara is a little bit higher, but the Saints showed they could use 2 running backs last year. I think he'll be fine. Number 11, LaShawn McCoy. That offense and the age on LaShawn McCoy scares me a little bit. So I think he regresses a little bit from what he was last year. Number 12, Devontae Freeman. I think that Falcons offense is going to return to form like they were in 2016 this year. Number 13, Christian McCaffrey in a PPR format. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is Cam Newton's best receiver, so production is going to be there. 14, Dalvin Cook, coming off a big knee injury, but I think Dalvin Cook is good enough to be a top 15 running back, and that Vikings offense should be really good this year. Number 15, Jordan Howard. Bears offense, I think, will be a little bit improved this year. They got a few more weapons in that offense, so I think Jordan Howard remains a top 15 running back. 16, Joe Mixon. Bengals offensive line, as Evan said, they drafted Billy Price. That offensive line may be a little bit better this year to open up some holes for him. 17, Derrick Henry. Dion Lewis being on the team scares me a little bit, but I think Derrick Henry's good enough to... Derrick Henry will be the goal line back, so he'll see the touchdowns. 18, Jay Ajayi. No LeGarrette Blount this year, so I think Ajayi can crack the top 20. Number 19, Darius Geis. I think the new Redskins running back. He's a rookie.
He doesn't get in a fight in the front office.
If he doesn't get in a fight in the front office, I think that he can be a top 20 running back. Wow. I think that the talent is there, and he should have went higher in the draft, but those off-field, quote-unquote off-field concerns dropped him in the draft, but I think that he's good enough. And number 20, Alex Collins on the Ravens. Ravens offense doesn't really have much going for him. Maybe they start Lamar Jackson at some point, and that would definitely even help Alex Collins even more. Evan, running backs.
All right, so I'll start my running back list with number 1, David Johnson. Kind of a hot take considering he was out the whole year last year, but he is the most talented running back in my opinion, so I'll pick him, and they have to run the ball with Sam Bradford as their quarterback, or Rosen. Number 2, Le'Veon. Other than David Johnson, he's obviously the best running back in the NFL. Gurley's right behind him. I'll put Gurley 3. His production last year was unprecedented, and he was good. I'll pick Jordan Howard 4. Jordan Howard gets tons of carries. That offense with a young quarterback, Tariq Cohen's good to get targets, but he's not really a rushing running back. He doesn't have that threat. 5, I'll pick Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon had a great year last year. The Chargers didn't make the playoffs, but they still had a good enough year. 6, I'll pick Kamara. Kamara had great production with limited snaps in the beginning of the season, so I think he'll continue and be a top 5 or 6 running back. 7, I'll put Zeke, like Cam said. He has no Dez Bryant, so really that offense is no choice but to run the ball. 8, I'll put LaShawn McCoy. Like Cam said, that same thing with that offense is terrible. They have Josh Allen, a quarterback now. They're going to just pretty much have to run the ball the whole time or check it down to McCoy. Number 9, I'll have Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is a top 10 running back in the NFL, fantasy production-wise. Like I said, the Bengals offense next year is going to be ferocious, so clearly he's going to be a top 10 running back.
Bengals bias still showing, by the way.
Number 10, I'm going to pick Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's a tank. That Jags offense is just getting better by the day, and I think he'll be a top 10 running back. Kareem Hunt, 11. Mahomes at quarterback is going to be a little hard for Kareem Hunt, considering how far Mahomes can throw the ball, but he'll check it down quite a few and run the ball. I'll put Mark Ingram 12. He has Kamara in the backfield, obviously, with him, but he still gets all his rushing touchdowns and stuff like that. I'll put Derrick Henry 13. DeMarco Murray's gone, so 13 might be a little high. I mean, he could even be a top 10 running back. Kenyon Drake pretty much by himself in the backfield, too, in Miami, so I'll put him 14. 15, I'll put McCaffrey. In a PPR is probably higher, but for a regular fantasy, I'll put him at the 15 running back, considering he doesn't run much. 16, I'll put Dalvin Cook. he's good, and that offense is going to be good, but they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and it's hard to come off the torn ACL, like I said. 17, Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson could be better than 17 because he has Alex Smith at quarterback, and Alex Smith likes to check down. 16, Devontae Freeman. I forgot to put Devontae Freeman on my list, so I have him high to 16. 18 will probably be better than that. 19, I have Bilal Powell. Bilal Powell's a very talented running back, and there might be 8 running backs in the Jets organization, but he's by far the best one. And then 20, I'll put Jay Ajayi because you need an Eagles running back in there, considering they're the defending Super Bowl champs.
All right, Bryce, you have Kamara at number 1 or what?
No. Le'Veon Bell is my number 1 running back. I think he's the most talented running back in the league. He has a dual threat, plus he has wide receivers to help him open up the run game. Todd Gurley at number 2. We saw what he did last year. He's just a pure running back talent. Not much to say about him. Number 3, Zeke. They're going to have to run the ball a lot more. They don't really have that many wide receivers anymore, so Zeke will get fed this year. Number 4, David Johnson. It's tough to come off a knee injury and all the injuries he had, so I have him at 4. Kamara, number 5. We saw what he did last year. One of the best running backs in the NFL. Number 6, Leonard Fournette. He gets the ball at the goal line a lot. Number 7, Saquon Barkley. I think he's just a pure talent. There's nothing much to say about him.
Hold on, before you continue the list, Evan, why isn't Saquon in your top 20?
That Giants offense isn't very good, and they won't be very good next year. Eli Manning's 37. He kind of sucks. And Odell will be getting a bunch of targets if he's actually on the field next season.
Saquon is just a freak athlete. Nothing much to say. He's just a freak.
He's not a 3-down guy.
Oh, man. All right, number 8, Kareem Hunt. I think that offense is very good this year. Opens up the run game for him a lot more. Number 9, Melvin Gordon. He just gets hand-fed the football there. Number 10, Dalvin Cook. It's kind of tough to come off ACL, but I still think he has the talent to be number 10 running back. Number 11, Devonta Freeman. Number 12, LaShawn McCoy. I am kind of low age. They don't have a quarterback. I think it's tough for him this year.
No faith in Josh Allen?
No faith there. No faith. Number 13,
Looks good in shorts.
Number 13, Derrick Henry. He's a power back. He's fast. Number 14, I have Jordan Howard. I think this year with the addition of Allen Robinson, it opens up the run game for him a lot more. Number 15, Mark Ingram. It's going to be tough for him because I think Kamara's going to get more rushes this year, but I still think he cracks the top 15. Number 16, McCaffrey. He doesn't really get that many rushes, but he is the leading receiver on that team. So,
No Jonathan Stewart this year either.
Yep. Number 17, Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon has a lot of talent there, but that offensive line isn't very good, and their quarterback isn't very good, so it kind of slows down his production. 18, I have Jerick McKinnon. We saw what he did in Minnesota last year. 19, Kenyon Drake. He ended the year good last year. I still think he cracks the top 20, and Jay Ajayi at 20.
All right, Evan, you can start us off with wide receivers.
All right, I'll start off our top 20 wide receivers. 1, I'll go Antonio Brown. Like I said, Big Ben's not very good, but Antonio Brown's the best receiver in the league, so his production stays. Number 2, I have Julio. Number 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is obviously, I have him as my second best wide receiver in the league, but I'll keep him 3rd fantasy-wise. 4, I have Odell. If Odell can stay on the field, we know how talented he is, but he is a hothead, so I don't think he produces. 5, I'll put Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's not a pretty draft pick, but he does get touchdowns and a bunch of targets, so he's a great fantasy value. 6, I have Mike Thomas. As I said, that Saints offense is crazy. So Mike Thomas obviously has a bunch of one-on-ones and can take advantage of that. 7, I'll go T.Y. Hilton. With Luck back on the field, T.Y. Hilton's production is crazy. 8, I'll go Adam Thielen. I had a toss-up between Thielen and Diggs here. Which one's better? It really doesn't matter. So 8 and 9, I'll put Stephon Diggs and Thielen. 10, I'll put A.J. Green. I think that offense is going to be running the ball a lot more this year. Even though Andy Dalton can't stretch the field, that's not the problem. A.J. Green's declining in play. 11, I'll go Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's going to really take advantage of Pat Mahomes throwing the ball, considering he can throw the ball like 70 yards or whatever. So him just burning people will really help. 12, I'll put Mike Evans. Mike Evans is probably better than the 12th most talented wide receiver in the league, but fantasy-wise, Jameis Winston is very good. 13, I'll put Jarvis Landry. It's going to be... Actually, I do like Tyrod, so that'll be good for him, whether it's Tyrod or Baker Mayfield throwing it 8 yards. However, Jarvis Landry runs the slant routes. 14, I'll put Brandon Cooks. He's the best receiver in the Rams, and Jared Goff will be able to throw the ball deep to him. 15, I'll put Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is by himself now because I'm pretty sure Crabtree left, so he might be better than 15 and get a lot more targets. 16, I'll put Fitz. Fitz seems ageless, so 16 might be a little high, but...
You got Josh Rosen now, too.
He does have the chosen Rosen. People forget that. 17, I'll put Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey is probably like a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL after what he did to that Patriots secondary. 18, I have a hot take. I have Will Fuller, but when Will Fuller is healthy, he had like 5 touchdowns in like 3 games last year. So him and Deshaun Watson have good chemistry. 19, I put Josh Gordon. If Josh Gordon can stay on the field, we see how talented he is. So 19, he could be even higher than 20. I'll put Doug Baldwin because he's pretty much the only receiver on the Seahawks that can catch.
All right, Bryce. How about you?
I have a question for Evan.
Yep.
So Aaron Rodgers is your number 1 quarterback, but you don't have a Packers wide receiver in the top 20.
I don't. So as we know, Jordy Nelson left. Devonta Adams is, I guess, a manageable wide receiver, but I wouldn't put him in my top 20 over people like Josh Gordon and Doug Baldwin at the end of my list. He has Ty Montgomery, but we know Ty Montgomery is not a top 20 running back. Maybe in PPR, he could be like a top 15, but pretty much checks it down to him, and Aaron Rodgers can throw to anybody in the league.
Okay. So, my number 1 wide receiver is Antonio Brown. I think he's everyone's number 1 wide receiver. The stats don't lie. Number 2, DeAndre Hopkins. We saw what he did last year. I think that continues. Number 3, Odell Beckham. If he's on the field, he is one of the most talented wide receivers in the league, if not the most talented. Number 4, Mike Thomas. He has Drew Brees at quarterback, the most accurate quarterback in NFL history. Gets the ball where it needs to be.
You just had to plug that, didn't you?
He's not wrong.
Number 5, Julio Jones. He's a freak athlete. He's tall, he's fast, catch everything. I still think he remains in the top
Everything
5.
except in the playoffs.
Number 6, I have Keenan Allen. We saw the spurt that he had at the end of last year. I think it continues into this year. Number 7, Tyreek Hill. Pat Mahomes being quarterback, Tyreek Hill being the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. I think that's a good connection for him. Number 8, Mike Evans. Jameis Winston has some troubles deciding where to throw the football, when to throw it, but I still think Mike Evans is a top 8 wide receiver. Number 9, Davante Adams. Him being the best wide receiver on the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, I think you have to put him in the top 10. A.J. Green at 10, even though he struggled a little bit last year. Andy Dalton struggled a little bit last year. I think
Without an offensive line.
that is a problem, but they did draft offensive linemen, so I still think he remains in the top 10. Doug Baldwin at number 11. I think Doug Baldwin's slept on a little bit. Number 12, Adam Thielen. We saw what he did. He had a great year last year. Number 13, T.Y. Hilton. Even though Andrew Luck is a little shaky, I still think, even though because he didn't play all year last year, I still think he comes back and T.Y. Hilton's a top 13. Alshon at 14. With Wentz playing as good as he did, I still think he's a top 14. Stephon Diggs is 15. AR-15 at 16 because the Bears don't really have a wide receiver, so he's going to be the number 1 target. Amari Cooper at 17. Fitz at 18. Brandon Cooks at 19. Demaryius Thomas at 20. He finally has a quarterback, so I still think he makes the top 20. Jarvis Landry at 21. Josh Gordon at 22. Michael Crabtree at 23. 24, I have Edelman in his return year. And 25, Golden Tate.
All right, so at receiver, I think as everyone has, Antonio Brown's my number one receiver, just far and away, in my opinion, the best receiver in the league. Number 2, DeAndre Hopkins. Hop showed that he can do it with pretty much anybody at quarterback last year, so I think Deshaun Watson helps even more. Number 3, I have Odell. I think Odell bounces back off that injury, and I think with having Odell in the field, Eli will perform a little bit better. Number 4, Julio Jones. Julio's just insanely talented, and I think he remains in the top 5. Number 5, Tyreek Hill. I think with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and Mahomes' ability to air it out, Tyreek Hill benefits a lot from that. And Tyreek Hill showed that he can be a receiver last year. So, number 6, Michael Thomas. Drew Brees, like Bryce said, accurate quarterback. Mike Thomas, good route runner, good hands. I think he's the number 6 receiver. Number 7, Davante Adams. I think Aaron Rodgers' ability combined with no Jordy Nelson puts Davante Adams in that position. Number 8, Keenan Allen. I think Phillip Rivers is good enough to get him the ball, and Keenan Allen is one of the best route runners in the NFL, so I think that's a good spot for him. Number 9, A.J. Green. Andy Dalton scares me a little bit. So does that offensive line, but I think A.J. Green can still be in the top 10 because of his talent. Number 10, Mike Evans. Another quarterback situation that scares me. Jameis is really inconsistent. Number 11, I have Diggs and Thielen back-to-back at 11 and 12. I have Diggs ahead of Thielen because I think the talent is there more so for Diggs. And so I think that his production can be sustained more. Number 13, I have T.Y. Hilton. I think that he moves up if Andrew Luck is healthy. I think Andrew Luck will be healthy, so I think that he could be in the top 10. But for Andrew Luck's injury's sake, I'll put Hilton at 13. 14, Alshon Jeffrey. Jeffrey had a great playoffs last year, and I think that with Carson Wentz there, Carson Wentz will have a little bit more of a connection with him in the second year. 15, Doug Baldwin, really the only receiver in Seattle. Russell Wilson has to throw the ball to somebody, so I think Doug Baldwin benefits from that. 16, Larry Fitz. Josh Rosen is an upgrade from his quarterback last year, so I think Fitz still continues to produce and be a top 16 receiver. 17, Amari Cooper. As we know, Amari Cooper has a case of the dropsies, so if he can learn to catch the ball, he could move up this list, but as far as he is now, I'll put him at 17. 18, Golden Tate. I think Golden Tate is the best receiver on the Lions. Some may say Marvin Jones, but I think Tate can be in that spot. 19, Demaryius Thomas. Case Keenum, we'll see what he can do this year on the Broncos, but he did have a great year with the Vikings last year, so Thomas could move up. 20, Brandon Cooks. Rams really rely heavily on Todd Gurley, so the pass game isn't really their main priority, so Cooks, I think, will just crack the top 20. 21, Jarvis Landry. Quarterback situation scares me. A lot of new faces on that team. I don't think the chemistry will be there right away, but I think Jarvis can produce, especially in a PPR. 22, Edelman. Edelman is getting up there in age, but the Patriots offense benefits slot receivers. So AR-15 at number 23. I think Trubisky can make progressions this year. AR-15 is a really talented receiver. 24, I got the rookie DJ Moore on the Panthers. Cam Newton needs somebody to throw the ball to. I think DJ Moore can be that guy out of Maryland. And 25, Calvin Ridley, the Falcons' first-round pick. I think that he can really benefit being on the opposite side of Julio Jones, learn a lot from Julio. And we saw what Ridley did at Alabama, so I think that he could be a top 25 fantasy receiver this year. So we're going to move on to tight ends. I'll start us off in the tight end list. Number 1, I think, as everybody has, Rob Gronkowski, just an unbelievable tight end. Number 2, Zach Ertz. I think that he and Carson Wentz really have a good connection, so I think that Ertz remains among the top tight ends in the league. 3, Travis Kelce. Like we've all said, that Chiefs offense could be one of the best in the NFL this year, so I think Kelce remains towards the top of the tight end list. Number 4, Hunter Henry. No Antonio Gates this year, it looks like, so Hunter Henry, I think, really can be a top 5 tight end this year. Number 5, Evan Ingram. We saw what Evan Ingram did last year, so I think Evan Ingram can make progressions into his second year, and having Odell on the field will take some attention off of him. 6, Jimmy Graham. Russell Wilson's going to have to throw the ball to somebody in the red zone. I think Jimmy Graham could see double-digit touchdowns this year easy. 7, Greg Olsen. I think Greg Olsen bounces back this year, so I think that he could be the 7th best tight end. Number 8, Delaney Walker. Mariota loves his tight ends, so I think Delaney Walker really benefits from that. 9, Jordan Reed. Alex Smith also loves tight ends, but we'll see where the connection lies with them. Jordan Reed could be higher on the list. 10, Jack Doyle. Getting Andrew Luck back would really help. He did produce with Jacoby Brissett last year, but I think he'll continue to be a top tight end with Andrew Luck. 11, Kyle Rudolph. A lot of mouths to feed in that Vikings offense, so I think he's just outside the top 10. And number 12, Tyler Eifert. He and Tyler Croft kind of have to compete for targets a little bit, so also Andy Dalton, like I said before, a little bit shaky, so I think Tyler Eifert will just be in the top 12.
It's disgusting.
All right, Evan, since you have an opinion on Tyler Eifert, let's hear your tight ends.
Alright, so for my best tight end in the NFL, I have Gronk. Gronk made Tom Brady pretty much his whole career and is a historic tight end. 2, I'll go Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, when he doesn't have his concussion, is obviously the best tight end in the league other than Gronk. 3, I'll go Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed will really help out from Alex Smith checking the ball down, so we'll get a lot of targets. 4, I'll go Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen's very good, and Cam Newton, obviously, that's his favorite target, even though he still continues to age. 5, I'll go Zach Ertz. Carson Wentz is a top 4 quarterback, so he has somebody to throw the ball to other than Alshon Jeffrey. 6, I'll go Hunter Henry. They have Keenan Allen and Melvin Gordon, but he gets a lot of targets anyways. 8, Evan Ingram. That offense isn't going to be very good, even with Saquon Barkley, so Evan Ingram's going to get a lot of targets.
Yeah, because Saquon's not a top 20 running back, so.
I'll go 8. I'll go Tyler Kroft as the 8th best tight end in the NFL. When Andy Dalton was targeting him last year, they had the highest passer rating in the NFL, whether it was to a receiver, running back, or tight end.
Does that factor in that he only had like 2 catches a game last year?
No, that's not true.
Okay.
He had about 5 touchdowns last year. So
Right. Even
even though that offense was very limited with the worst offensive line in NFL history, he still found a way to produce.
Upset Bengals fan here.
Yep. 9, we'll go Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle is... Well, we haven't really seen him with Luck, but he has been improving every year in the league. So him and Luck should be good next year. 10, I'll go Tyler Eifert. Tyler Eifert's top 10 tight end, but he's not as good as Tyler Kroft, and we saw it last year when he was out for the season. 11, I'll go Jimmy Graham. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Graham's on the Packers this year, so there's somebody Aaron Rodgers can throw the ball to. And then 12, Delaney Walker. He's old, but he still gets a bunch of targets and touchdowns, and is the reigning Pro Bowl MVP.
Alright, so number 1 on my tight ends, Gronk. Just like Antonio Brown, I think he's number 1 every year. Number 2, Travis Kelce. I think he's very close to Gronk talent-wise, but the offense is different, so I have him at 2. Number 3, I have Zach Ertz with Carson Wentz. I think he remains in the top 5. Greg Olsen at number 4. He's Cam Newton's favorite target. He's the best catcher on that team. Number 5, Evan Ingram. I think the addition of Saquon opens up the pass game a lot more for them. Number 6, Jimmy Graham. He's a red zone threat with Aaron Rodgers. The Packers got rid of their biggest red zone threat in Jordy Nelson, so I think he'll catch a lot of touchdowns this year. Number 7, Delaney Walker. He's proven every year that he's one of the best tight ends in the league. I still think Mariota is a little shaky, but I still think he's number 7. Number 8, Jordan Reed. Number 9, Kyle Rudolph. Number 10, I have Jack Doyle. I think him and Andrew Luck together, they played together in college. I think it helps him out. Number 11, I have Hunter Henry. He's a big red zone threat. And number 12, I have Tyler Eifert.
The second best tight end on the Bengals.
Oh, Jesus.
Man.
All right, so our next segment, the hot takes. So we're going to start this one off with Bryce, since he has some things that he really wants to say about this upcoming season.
All right, so my first hot take, I think Pat Mahomes could be a top 5 quarterback this year. That offense is very deadly with the run game, so it opens up the pass game. The addition of Sammy Watkins opens up the pass game. Pat Mahomes has one of the best arms in the league with two of the fastest wide receivers in the league. I think he could be a top 5 quarterback this year.
I like it. So I'm going to kind of piggyback off the Chiefs idea. Tyreek Hill is going to go for 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns this season. That's how good I think Tyreek Hill can be this year. The talent, in my eyes, is really there. Maybe a little bit of bias because he's my favorite player, but I think that he could be. He was last year. He was a top 5 receiver last year, so I think that he could increase those numbers even more this year.
Am I allowed to do hot takes for teams or just for players?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Just you can give a football hot take if you want.
All right, here's a football hot take. So first of all, I'll start with the Cleveland Browns. Although they have a bunch of new transactions this offseason and a bunch of good draft picks, they do not win more than 6 games in the NFL next year. They're still the worst team in the AFC North. The Bengals win the AFC North next year. That's another hot take. Like I said, this improved O-line just changes everything, and Marvin Lewis has a whole new mindset.
One at a time here, Captain.
Yeah.
I know you have a lot you want to get off your chest. All right, Bryce, back to you.
All right. Demaryius Thomas is a top 10 wide receiver this year. I think the addition.
I didn't know Peyton Manning was trotting back out there this year.
I think with a new quarterback, Demaryius Thomas has proved throughout his career that he's a top 10 wide receiver. I think with Demaryius with a quarterback this year, I think he breaks the top 10.
They even draft.
So, all right, my next hot take: the Atlanta Falcons return to their 2016 form and are the best offense in the NFL this upcoming year. I think that Matt Ryan can refocus it to where he was in 2016. I think Calvin Ridley on the other side of Julio Jones really gives that offense an aspect they were missing. So I think that they could return to where they were in 2016. Evan.
All right. My next hot take, I think Derrick Henry finishes as a top 3 running back in the NFL next year. I think without DeMarco Murray in the equation and Marcus Mariota clearly limited in throwing the ball, I think he'll get tons of carries, and obviously he'll produce because of how talented he is. So I'd say he could finish in the top 3 in running backs next year.
All right, Bryce.
Can
you top that one?
I don't have anything to top that one. Your turn.
All right. I'll try to top it here. Todd Gurley is going to break the rushing record this year. I think that Todd Gurley is the most talented running back in the NFL. I think since he is the focal point of one of the best offenses in the league, that he could potentially break that record. He almost had 20 touchdowns last year. So I think that he could maybe take a step even further, which might be scary for the rest of the NFL. Evan, you have any more?
I'm running dry here. I don't know where else I go.
Last call.
No hot takes.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in for the first episode. There will be more to come towards the beginning of the year. So look out for that. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for listening.